Hey friends, it's Jen with ChappyPlans. Thanks for joining me for December Daily. This is going to be story number 20. Hello friends, it's Jen with ChappyPlans. How's it going? Welcome to story 20. Only 11 more stories to go. So I knew I wanted to tell a bunch of stories that were smaller and more micro, if you will, from the month. And so I knew that this paper was going to be perfect. It was part of a misprint, I guess, for prompt papers. Usually it's printed on really thick cardstock that we can all come to expect and love and appreciate from Allie Edwards. There was an error, I guess, with some of that, so it's printed on like copy paper material, which is fine by me because I'm gonna back it anyway with that polka dot pattern paper. So anyhow, I went ahead and in my print to size app, I sized a whole bunch of photos, 20 of them to be exact, to fit inside those little white squares that will be on that 8.5 by 11 sheet of prompt paper that just says December detail over every one of those squares. So let me speed up the camera here. They're really not squares. They're actually rectangles, but very just slight rectangles, just slightly shorter than it is long. Anywho, I found this piece of December like cardstock in my stash. I think it came from last year's Stories by the Month, if I'm not mistaken. And I knew I wanted to use it to bullet point list a caption for each of those photos. So I knew I was going to have the journaling on the left and then the photo flip out on the right. And so I wanted to create a little pocket for the December details paper. So I just used the back of story number 19 and added this transparency that you're going to see me struggle and fight with the scalloped punch that I got for December Daily by Fiskars to create a scalloped effect at the top of the pocket. It's definitely not a need. I just was feeling a little extra because I think it looks a little silly having this skinny December details journaling inside this giant full-paged pocket. But that's just the way it was working out, and I didn't have more to add, so I just left it as it was. I could have probably added in other things in this folder, or this pocket, whatever you want to call it, but I didn't. And so that's just the way it ended up being. And before I didn't adhere the full back of this paper to the pattern paper because this story is going to go right into story 21, obviously, and I knew I might be using brads on the back of the polka dot paper that I'm adhering right now to the prompt paper. So, so this is stories 20 and 21. I'm so sorry. I am so used to filming one story at a time, but these two I filmed back to back, and it just made more sense to include them together because of the fact that the polka dot paper is a part of story 21. So I just kept filming. Anywho, I chose this polka dot paper because it is mostly white, but it does feature a lot of the fun colors that are in the prompt paper. And I absolutely love the colors of December Daily this year. It's my favorite kit by far. I think I said that several times throughout this series. But I chose that one, and I knew that I was going to put the 20 on the front of the front flap of the prompt paper. So right now you're just going to see me trim down all of the pre-printed photos, and then I'm going to I'm going to use tape. I use my Tombow mono adhesive to tape it in. And I will read you the journaling while you watch me do this part because it is tedious and it's self-explanatory. I'm literally just cutting apart each of the photos. So number 1, and I'm going in order in the month, by the way, chronological order. I don't have exact dates on the photos, but I wanted it to be in a chronological order. In my mind, with my OCD, there had to be some sort of pattern or logic for the photos placement. So number one is twinning at church, Nora and I wearing the same outfit. Number two is Matt playing electric guitar and helping to lead worship at church. Number three, annual Victorian stroll fun, riding in the front of the old-fashioned fire truck. Number four is we made gingerbread houses at school. Number five is the cutest boba drink from Gongcha. Number six is Advent puzzles have been a fun treat. Number seven says, finally, a Groff potluck night, sans Matt, who is at a guy's night. By the way, Groff is my friend's last name, so that's what that meant. In case you haven't been watching my Project Life videos, they're a very close family friend of ours. Number eight, teachers performing their version of the 12 Days of Christmas. Hilarious. Number nine, it snowed enough to stick. Number 10, Smokey modeling Colleen, who is my cousin's Santa cat costume. So funny, because she watches our cat while we are in Michigan, and so she sent me that photo while we were away, and it was just amazing. Number 11, RDI Christmas party silliness, which is Nora's dance school. Number 12, reindeer nails for Christmas break. Number 13, celebrating Steve's 40th and treating the parents to dinner at iFusion. That's my brother-in-law. Number 14, bibimbap Korean deliciousness. Number 15, creme brulee at Koala Bakery. Number 16, nap time snuggles with Penny. That's my brother-in-law, my husband's twin brother's dog. Number 17, photo op at Hyatt's All Things Creative. Number 18, the biggest zebra pen display ever. Number 19, a sign in the bathroom at Mighty Taco Buffalo. I wish we had both the fast food chain and those signs in our area. And number 20, finished volume 1 of December Daily. So for some context, the sign on the paper towel dispenser in the bathroom at one of these fast food chains that we don't have here says, please use paper towel to open door, trash can outside. And I'm like, dang, that is so smart, because, you know, germs are a real thing, right? And I just wish that that was something that people around here chose to put on their public bathrooms. But anyhow, that's another story for another day. The other elements I'm introducing into Story 20 are going to be these vellum numbers that are very large, and I love that I finally got to use them because I absolutely love them so much. They're from Studio Calico, and they are from two different collections that they released. So I took a light pink one and then this red zero, and I love the way they look together. Like, just completely obsessed with the way it looks on top of the polka dot paper. And you can see I'm using my glue pen to adhere them because vellum is not kind to adhesive, and it shows through pretty much everything. If I know that somebody out there is aware of a good adhesive for vellum, if that's you and you know what it is, let me know in the comments. So the other element I wanted to bring in were these hearts, and I knew I wanted to layer them over the transparency on the left side of the page. In fact, I originally was trying to figure out a way to just have the hearts be the actual folder portion of the pocket, but then I decided that was too complicated and it would be easier just to put some tape on them and adhere them to a transparency and then create the pocket. So that's what I did. And I just layered them together. So the navy blue hearts in the middle, that's the bigger one, and then Adore This Season and Merry and Bright are on either side. And I chose those colors intentionally to coordinate with the polka dot paper on the right and the numbers on the right. And then I'm going to use the How We Celebrate heart and adhere that to the top of the two. And you will see at the end, at the end of completing this portion of the story, I go in and add a label sticker and stamp Counting Joys on it because I felt like that was a sort of subtitle for Story 20, because that really is what's happening. It is how we celebrate the month, but it's also counting the joys of the month. And now you can see that I am pressing with all my might. It took quite a bit of strength to get the scallop punch to actually cut through the transparency material. So shout out to Ali Edwards' team for having absolutely amazing products that are high quality, because I almost broke a finger trying to do this. So nailed it. And then, yeah, that's going to conclude the left side of Story 20. Other than, what else did I do? Oh, I didn't mention, I printed the journaling on sticker paper, Avery clear label paper, I think it is. And I did the journaling in Canva. And then I did go back and add a tab at the top of the the journaling paper with my tiny attacher, and it just says joy. So, and that's from an older Allie Edwards collection. And then on the inside flap of all 20 of these photos, I had these little teeny tiny puffy numbers from Vicky Boutin, one of her collections a couple of years ago, and I hadn't used them. So I thought, oh, this is perfect. They're so little, they're the right size. So I used those to number each of the little photos, 1 through 20, to coordinate with the journaling on the left. And then I just went through, you'll see me, I'm going to play some music because it's kind of, tedious. I went through all of my word phrase stickers and added a ton, like one to each photo. And there's one photo that got a shopping bag sticker and not a word, but that was intentional, and I think it's just fine. I had to restrain myself. Oops, sorry, I just dropped something. I had to restrain myself from going overboard with the stickers and embellishments because I really could go crazy with adding things to each of these photos, but there's already so much color and it's so busy looking. I didn't really want to get, too carried away. Oh, also, I'm going to add this pom-pom trim, which I picked up from Joanne at the beginning of the season. For that, I'm just using the red line tape in the 1/4 inch width and putting it on the underside. And then that way it kind of peeks through and you can see it on both sides of the pattern prompt paper. So like I said, you're going to see me adhere all these down. I do think I'm going to end up having to go back and reinforcing the adhesive on the backs of these little puffy circle numbers because they, some of them fell off pretty easily. Some of them seem to be pretty sticky, but just in case, I don't want them to fall out over the years. And then you're going to see me like try a couple different things and change my mind. And in the end, I basically tried to include word phrases for each photo that pertain to that story and that photo, but also tried to vary up where I was placing like a red one versus a black one versus a white one versus a pink sticker. So I tried to vary that up and just keep it a little interesting that way as well, which is why it took me a little bit longer than I would have liked to choose each of the word phrase stickers. But in the end, I think it turned out really super cute and I'm very, very happy with the result. Oh, and before I play the music, I do want to say someone had made a comment that they did not like the music and would rather just have me talk throughout. I appreciate that comment. It's a little difficult with the way that I edit photos to find music that is copyright free. So I'm sorry if it's not like the kind of music you want to hear. Trust me, I spent a long time looking through YouTube videos of copyright free music, and I've done that in the past and then still got copywritten. And then, which means I can't monetize my videos. And, yeah, I work really hard on them. So eventually I settled on one that I felt like was not too cringeworthy. I'm sorry if it really does not appeal to you or bothers you. Hopefully it's enough for you to just be able to put it on mute during the music portion, or like if you're worried about missing me doing the voiceover part, you can just put on closed captions because I set all of my videos to closed captions so that people obviously who cannot hear are able to see what I am saying or what's being said in the videos. So that way you wouldn't, miss out when I switch back from the music to my voiceover part. Otherwise, the only other option I could think of would be to completely exclude the content portion where there's music, which I don't think that's a good alternative either. If you have other options, let me know. But I do apologize if the music is not to your liking. And I'm always open to any tips or other helpful criticisms you might have. So without further ado, I'm sorry, but here's the music. So here's a look at how it is in the album. It's not completely finished. I'm trying to get a better feel for it, and I decide, okay, this is where I'm going to add the label sticker and then stamp Counting Joys on the top. I love the font too of the Counting Joys word phrase there. It kind of mimics sort of that typewriter effect or font that I used on the left for the December Details journaling portion. And then I am also going to add in the tab pull on top of the journaling paper. I also thought I wanted to layer the label on top of a piece of that sticker washi there, but in the end I decided that would be too much against the polka dots. I always have the problem of over embellishing. It's just something I do. So I have to restrain myself. It's hard, but I have to do it. So I'm taking a look at how everything feels next to each other and the flip open and all of that. And then last thing I'm going to do is add the Joy tab, and then we can move on to the story 21. Okay, so here's another story where the initial idea evolved into something different. I knew that I wanted to use these green scalloped tags as sort of the base of a layered swivel tab. So each swiveled tab would have the scalloped background tag that's just, scalloped with the green trim, and then a photo and some journaling, and then a vellum or transparent layer on the very top, all held together with a brad, 3 clusters, 3 photos, and there you have it. Well, I knew, so on the right, I thought, oh, I have this bigger photo of Nora and my mom, and Nora calls her Cici because those are her initials, and since she's been a baby, that's what she's called her, Grandma Cici. So I thought, oh, let me do this, almost 4x4 sized square tag on its own, and that's the photo I want to feature. And then on the left, I'll do these smaller, almost 2x3-ish size tags. Well, I didn't like how big the photo looked in comparison to the piece of pattern paper that I trimmed down, and I spent quite a bit of time off camera selecting the pattern paper for the right side of story 21 and settled on that Mary. And in the end, I don't even use it. So I'm kind of kicking myself because I trimmed it and poked holes in it, and I'm not even using it for this story. So hopefully at some point I can use it in another story. But anyhow, rather than stay married to the idea of using this Mary paper and not loving the ratio of the photo in conjunction to the width of the Mary paper, I will change that after the fact. Right now, what I'm going to do is kind of piece this together as I go, and that's how I arrive at the final decision to switch things out a little bit. So I am going to take this other prompt paper that says December Details and then story at the top. And again, this is another mistake I make. I adhere this pattern or this copy paper to the back of the photo, which I realize is dumb because if it's a swivel up and not a flip up or a pull out tag, you're not really going to be able to read it. It's going to be pretty difficult. So it's too late. I've already adhered it to the photo and I'm just going to leave it. Fortunately, there are like 6 other prompts that look exactly like that one in different colors on that paper. I was trying to keep all of them green, but in the end, because I made this error, one of the story journaling spots is going to be the like black or like navy blue color. It's not a big deal. So, and you can also see that that photo, once I put it on the story prompt, is a little bit too short for the length of it, so I just covered up the white space with some washi and filled it in there, and I think it's fine. It's not a big deal. And then I decide at this point I want to have the vellum overlay, just plain vellum, because I think, oh, it would be fun to do some embossing and some stamping on the top of the vellum. Now, what is that going to be? I don't know. I thought, oh, maybe it'll be one of the word phrases repeated from one of the stamp sets, or maybe it will be an ornament. And I just didn't really love those ideas either. I knew I wanted to do some embossing, so I will get to that later. Right now, my mind is working on trying to figure out the logistics. And here I'm like, oh crap, I glued it to the back side. I glued the story prompt to the back side of the photo, and you're not going to be able to see that. So let me cut out another one. So I'm trimming out this green story card, and I'm going to adhere it to the tag, trim it down a little bit because it's a little bit too long. And that's where I'm going to do the journaling. So the journaling is going to sit on the underside of the photo. So I'm not going to read the journaling exactly because there's quite a bit, but I will just sum it up and say this is a story about Christmas with Cici, which I try to record every year, and it's a tradition that we do. Obviously, Nora's going to see her grandma for Christmas, but we're gone at Christmas, so we celebrate before we leave, usually the Friday or Saturday before, depending on my mom's schedule. So it worked out that she could come over Saturday, and we were leaving very early the next day to make the trek to Michigan. So we have her over for dinner, and we exchange gifts with her and that kind of stuff. So it's very small, intimate, just the four of us. And my mom gave Nora her gift, and she was very underwhelmed. Like, she was like, oh, it was so cute because she was trying so hard to act appreciative and grateful, but it was just obvious that she was not feeling it. And it was really sweet. It was just one of those like VTech mini like watches that you can play games on and take pictures, but it's like really poor quality compared to, some of the other technologies that kids these days have. Like, Nora's had an iPad since she was in first grade, so she's very used to that, and has my old phone that she plays with. So, I mean, it doesn't have like service or anything, but she can attach it to Wi-Fi and all that. Anyhow, she was underwhelmed by the gift. So my mom was like, well, it's only 1:00 because she came over early. Why don't I take you back to Macy's where I got it and let you pick out what you want? And I was very hesitant to let my mom drive Nora because she just is older and she's not the best driver. So, I was like, Matt, can I talk to you in the kitchen? So he had to do some grocery shopping for snacks and food for Nora for Michigan for the next day. So he was like, well, why don't I go drop you guys off at Macy's and then I'll go pick up some food. And so that's what they did. And so some of those photos, the picture of Nora taking a selfie is her trying on a shirt that she ended up buying. And she took my phone with her. That's my phone she's taking a picture with because my mom didn't have a phone. So Matt would have had no way to contact them and be like, hey, I'm here to pick you up. And I don't know. He could have gone in the store and they could have planned on a meeting time, but that made me too nervous. And, I have OCD, so that wasn't going to happen. So I was like, Nora, why don't you just take my phone? And if you guys need me, Daddy can always message me on Facebook Messenger or something. So she took a selfie with the shirt that she had picked out, which is super cute. And then she also picked out like a couple other, like one, some kind of like Disney plushie that's also a food item. So it's like supposed to be sweet. So it ended up being like Bambi shaped like a macaron, I think. And then she also got Hello Kitty dressed as Funshine Bear, like the Care Bear. You can kind of see it in the picture of her and my mom that I'm working on her bed. So the other photo is of Nora and my mom in Nora's room, and she's showing her some of the new things she got for Christmas earlier that morning. Because if you watched story 19 about Nora's gifts, I had mentioned that, we give her some of the bigger items and things that we're not going to trek with us across New York through Canada to Michigan, and give her those things before we leave. And then she still has other presents that she opens on Christmas Day. So while I was blabbing away at you, you probably noticed that I ended up changing my mind and trimming the photo of Nora and my mom down to the same tag as the two on the left. And I like it much better, but now I don't like the paper at all. And I decide that I want to change everything as far as the decor. So I decide that I want to include on the negative spaces on the left side of the polka dot paper where the two tags are, that I want to use the transparent plastic pieces of the florals from the December Stories by the Month kit, because I didn't use them in my December Stories by the Month, and I did use a few, but not all of them. So I have a whole bunch left, and I love them so much. So I decided, oh, this is perfect. They take up the space. They look beautiful. They coordinate with the, the papers. But I didn't like it with the Be Merry paper. So I traded that out for this vellum paper I had in my stash. And then I'm like, is that going to look weird? Because there's this vellum poinsettia card, which is meant to be a pocket card, that I just trimmed down to act as like another layer of decor, if you will, because I used one of the poinsettias in my project life already. So there's only 2 out of the 3 left. And I like to have 3 visual things, that kind of, it makes sense from a design standpoint, right? So I've got the 2 poinsettias that are going to be on the left in their own cluster with the tree branch, the pine tree branch, which I think is what that is, or evergreen tree. And then on the right, since I don't have a poinsettia, I remembered that I had this vellum tag, and I thought, well, that's perfect. It's exactly the same pattern, and I can layer the now 2x3 tag that over the top, and then layer that on top of the pink vellum that has the like sparkles on it. So that's what I end up doing. That's what evolved and changed as I was creating this story. I don't super love how it looks, but I don't like it. I don't hate it. I don't not like it, but I'm not like, ooh, this is amazing. Like I'm wondering if I should have put the poinsettia vellum on just white cardstock, which I might try to do that later, because it's only attached with, I think it's just attached with Tombow tape. So it'll be pretty easy to take off and replace if I need to. Anyhow, I will continue to add the journaling for the story I told earlier about this day on the back of this photo on the right side, which is the picture of Nora and my mom. And then I decide what I'm going to put on each of the vellum pieces. And that is, I'm going to take my favorite alpha stamps from this year's release and stamp out Christmas, like Xmas on one, with on the other, and Cici on the last one. So it's very obvious that this story all goes together, even though it's spread over 2 pages, and I got to do my embossing and be a little bit extra there, and I love the way that turned out. So, the steps that I always follow are use the static pouch first, which helps the embossing powder not to go all over the place and stick to the paper, and just helps the embossing powder to stick to the ink instead. And then I stamp out my text and then dump the powder on top. And I had tested out earlier off camera a red glitter, green glitter, and gold, and I decided on the green. I haven't used it, I don't think, in many of my albums, and I have so much of it, so I said, let me play off of the green scallop tag, which was the whole entire, like, jumping off point for telling this story to begin with. Even though it's a different shade of green, I think it's okay. And so it also adds to the whimsy and the fun of like this story in general. So I thought it made sense. So anyway, I'm going to stamp that out, emboss that, and then I can make the clusters with these star brads that I have from Michaels. I should mention, I always edit out the journaling part where I'm just writing, because it takes a while, and sometimes I stop and I think about what I want to write, and I feel like that's just annoying to sit here and watch. So anyhow, just so you know, I don't hardly ever include me doing journaling in my process videos or project life videos. You can see there I had chosen a gold heart brad, but I decided that I didn't love the way that it looked. So in the end, I do pick the gold stars that I have. And then once I get the tags where I want them on the page, I'm going to adjust this one because I actually don't like the placement of it. So once I move the cluster of the Christmas portion, the Christmas tags section, once that's moved down a little bit, then I can go in with those individual plastic floral pieces from the December Stories by the Month kit and adhere those down onto the paper. And I'm just going to use some very thin, I think it's like 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape to adhere those down to the paper in a way that just I thought looked aesthetically pleasing. I had a hard time choosing embellishments for the 2 negative spaces on this left side, like that top right corner and the bottom left corner. I was just struggling with embellishments. I tried stars. I tried the wood stars. I tried cardstock. I tried die cuts. I tried Christmas trees. I tried ornaments. You name it, I tried it. In the end, I was thankful that I remembered that I had these floral pieces, and they just so happened to fit in the spaces in a way that, you know, made my eyes rest and not feel like it was too much or competing too much with the design ideas. And this is what I decided on in the end. So you can watch me kind of, you know, put a few pieces on the back. I don't want to put too many because, again, with even though it's not completely transparent, I just didn't want to risk there being, you know, tons of adhesive that you could see through the florals. So I just put a few pieces, and it did do the trick. And I don't think you can really see, like, it's not obvious that it's behind the florals or the branch pieces, and I think it looks really lovely, actually. And I love that you can kind of get a blurred-ish image of the photos underneath of the vellum and the stamping. And now that I know where the floral pieces are going to be, then I can go ahead and take my Tombow tape and adhere the tag completely, like the bottom tag cluster, which is that green scalloped die cut, to the pattern paper so that it is not going to move. The parts that are supposed to move will swivel, but the bottom part, the bottom layer, the tag, will not move once I tape it down. And then I think that's just about it, other than, oh, now that the tags are adhered to the polka dot paper with the brads, I can finally use my double-sided tape to make sure that these two papers are taped to each other for good. So now the full, you know, story 20 flip out is taped to the polka dot paper. It's nice and sturdy. And then story 21 is all nice and complete on the left. And that just leaves me to finish my cluster on the right. And again, since I don't have a third poinsettia, I just used that vellum and then added the branch and the little, I don't know what this is, if it's like a floral or a snowflake or an asterisk or what, but it's like I'm lifting off the plastic right now of these pieces. There's like a little film on top of them, and they're just another little accent. So I add the pine branch and then that little floral accent on the right. And then the very, very last finishing touch that I need to do is put the number for the story, right? So I decide to use a rectangular label from my stash. It's from one of the previous sticker advent calendars from Allie Edwards. And then I take out these gold puffy numbers and just put 21, and that is going to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I know this was a little bit longer because it's 2-in-1, and I'd love to know if you like longer process videos or if you like to just see one story at a time, or if you don't mind these dual stories. I mean, I don't know how much I could change it up anyway, just because like I am busting my butt trying to get the content to you guys, which is why I'm posting like double YouTube videos every day for like weeks. But anyhow, let me know your thoughts. I'm still curious, and if I can make changes to it in the future, I definitely will. But I appreciate you guys spending your time with me and listening to me ramble on and on and on. It feels like I've been talking forever. Here are the close-up versions of the finished side of the spread. So here's 21. And then I'm going to pop in a slow-mo real-time version of story 20 because I forgot to show that to you at the end of the first section of this video. So thank you so much for being here. Please like this video if you did and subscribe if you are not. And if you hit that notification bell, I would appreciate it because then you'll know when I come out with new content, especially right now since it is completely sporadic. All right, friends, take care of yourselves. Remember that you are enough. Love you guys. Bye.